My name is Becky Norwood with Spotlight Publishing. This is Angela Humburg. And Angela, we are having a major celebration today
Yes, it's exciting.
as confident, calm parents, confident children. What better thing could there be? And you are a contributing author to this book, and we welcome and celebrate you because for each of the authors that are in this book, each came with a totally different perspective, and yet they all meld together. They kind of mesh together in such a beautiful way. And I loved your story about. I've got to bring your chapter, respecting your child's hunger and fullness cues. Let's talk about that because that is such an important aspect to raising happy children, and really understanding our children too. So tell us the story of this, how this came to be.
The the story of my chapter or the story of in general?
Both actually, if
Okay.
you,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I, for years, would teach my clients about in what I would think would be this is how you should watch your calories, this is how you should eat, you should do this. And it was frustrating because I didn't feel like this is really the way I should be teaching. This isn't how it should be. And so then I came in I actually met Evelyn Tribole, who is the founder of intuitive eating. And then I became involved in Train Your Brain with Dana Well. And I work with WIC, which is a supplemental food program for low-income women and children up to age 5, pregnant moms,
Wow.
and do nutrition counseling there. And I just couldn't believe how much diet culture is such a part of everyone's life, even if you say you're not really, like, I'm not a dieter, but there's still so much influence with diet culture on us, just from our family or friends or on our social media. And I realized that this was happening with our children, and this was happening even as an infant, like, oh, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, you got to follow these rules, you have to be so much percentile, so you can't be this much, you got to be your height, your weight. You've heard parents say, well, she's
Oh,
80th percentile, and it's like badge of honor, and it's just so, we love
they're
numbers.
under percentage, and there's something wrong with them.
Right. And she's at 5%. What can I do? And then I also teach with college students, and I see the similar things like, how can I get bigger and stronger, and all of these things. And I just realized that this is something as parents that we can totally be instrumental in teaching children intuitive eating, mindful eating, and really become diet renegades and stop listening to this external diet rules and
The
rigidity
noise,
and
the
all
noise.
of that noise, and
Yeah.
having that focus. And it works perfectly with training your brain, and it works perfectly, that whole intuitive eating. So I've really grown as teaching and counseling with my WIC clients too. It's been really great.
That's beautiful, your role and what you do in the world, because it's so necessary. And very early on in my young adult life, I became a single mom, and at the time, I was pregnant with my second child, and I had a 13-month-old, so it
Oh,
was kind of a very stressful time, and I had to, you know, accept food stamps and different things like that, and down in the breadline kind of at the one time, and I was I was amazed at the kinds of foods because I had always been quite a healthy eater, the kinds of foods that were given out, and in my mind were not healthy foods for what the way I had been raised and the way I believed in eating. And I didn't stay on it, I think more than a month or two when I probably could have, but I didn't because I didn't feel like, I felt I'll make it myself. I'll do it fine. And I
sure.
did. But our the foods we eat, the choices that we make, and what's available to us is truly amazing. And we do have the ability to make good choices. So, how does weaving train your brain with eating right and intuitive eating come into play? How did those two work together?
When you are listening to your body and you're paying attention to how food affects you, you can see how foods are beneficial or how foods aren't. For example, like my one daughter, she has a situations called celiac where she can't eat gluten. And we discovered this by realizing, okay, she feels really, really bad. And oh my gosh, she has a migraine. What's going on? And she was in middle school. And oh, she's just always feeling yucky. And we sort of just worked through what is it that is causing this and how can we eliminate. And so we did a lot of experiments, I guess, not experiments, not like experiments. We did a lot of experiment. Okay, let's limit this. Let's see if it's this food. Okay, now let's see that no difference, no problem. What did you eat yesterday? And we did all this basically research to see what it was that was affecting her. And so we found out that it's the gluten, and that is what was causing the migraines and causing her to feel awful. And there is something that we call interoceptive awareness, and it's an awareness of basically your digestive system. And we have a vagus nerve and all this stuff, but it's basically being aware of, okay, that food had an effect on me. And parents can notice that even with little kids. And people will say, oh, sugar, sugar will make my child hyper. Well, sugar doesn't make it doesn't, like in studies, sugar does not make a child hyper. But perhaps there was something else, perhaps there was something that caused, like maybe you were at the birthday party and that caused them to be hyper, right? Or maybe they're outside of their routine and that made them hyper. But we think that certain foods affect us, but not necessarily. Really, when you really hone in, sometimes they don't necessarily affect us like diet culture thinks they do. So there's kind of that connection where we need to train our brain to recognize that awareness, that interoceptive awareness, and be intuitive as to, okay, that food made me feel full, or that food made me feel sluggish, or that food I ate too much, or I didn't eat enough, or if I'm a child and I'm going through a growth spurt, mom's like, oh my gosh, you're eating like a football player.
And girls can do that too.
Right. And that's okay because you're listening to your body. And then as a mom, I might say, golly, I'm so hungry. I've been so hungry for the last 3 days. What's going on? I'm stressed. Oh, it's that time I'm menstruating. Oh, that's right. My husband's been traveling. There's we have all of these clues. And
the awareness with it.
Yeah.
And there are times when there's chemicals like monosodium glutamate. Remember when that was quite a thing. And maybe the food itself was okay for you. It was the chemicals that are in the food that will totally take you the other direction. Yeah. And it's recognizing that. Right.
And that's sometimes it's just keeping track. Like, why did they do this? Or why did you do that? Yeah, it's just, and yes, sometimes the MSG does affect people. Mm-hmm. And strange dyes sometimes, like food dyes, will sometimes affect children. You will notice with children, or just foods that you would get constipated from, and you'd say, "Oh my gosh, why am I constipated?" Those are all they're all clues. Like in writing, you have context clues.
Right.
It's like when in eating.
Be very intuitive. I noticed in your chapter, you talked about your infant daughter, your second daughter, I think it was, who did not like formula and would have nothing to do with it. And what a time that was for you to understand what your daughter needed and what that she just plain didn't like it. You know. So what did you do with that?
That was a huge learning opportunity for me, because as a WIC dietitian counseling moms and talking about formula and talking about breastfeeding and understanding that we talk so much about numbers and, oh, they're at, like we had said, they're at this percent, they're doing this. Oh my gosh, that was huge to be right there in the thick of all that stress. And that was so valuable because she was fine. The doctor, I was getting it from the doctors, I was getting it from the internet. I mean, I was getting all of these stressors.
Noise.
And that's right. And that's noise. And that's kind of an example of the diet culture, that there's some, and granted, she did not have a health diagnosis that was dangerous. She was yellow, bilirubin, high bilirubin happens. We did the bilirubin light. I mean, she was fine because I did follow the doctor's advice for that. And I tried to give her the formula, but she did not want the formula.
Nope.
She said, no, not at all. But that's such a good example of how we have so many, like, interoceptively, she knew what she wanted and she was okay. She was growing. Her weight was fine. All of her vital signs were fine. All of these things were fine. She was pooping, she was peeing, but it was that yellow thing. I mean, it's just so amazing because I was then able to look at that and take that with my families that I meet with and say, I understand that stress. And I understand that people that have their babies wait all the time and it's a stress. It was just so helpful for me to understand the wisdom that our bodies have and that we work it out. Our bodies, we work it out.
Even our little creatures now, our little ones. Yeah.
But it was that was so helpful for me. It was so helpful because then I said, oh, got it. I know exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about stress and the doctor saying this and the nurse telling you this and you're like, oh, I just had a baby and I got hormones going all over the place. So it was really, really helpful to understand that the body has so much wisdom. And with that feeding, we're born to be intuitive eaters. We're born to know when we're hungry. We're born to stop when we're satisfied or full.
When we're done. Yep. Yeah. And listening to, if more of us would stop and listen
to what
our bodies are saying, I think 99% of us would be far healthier.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, okay, I ate this and I feel like I want to go take a nap. I wonder why. Like, maybe there was something in there I should not have been eating, or maybe I ate too much, or and examining, examining the whys.
Even something as simple as eating enough. In our culture, we have so much about weight, and we've got all this other stuff. There's so much mixed signals that if we listen to it, but if we could go within and listen to our body, what does my body need today?
And
asking those questions.
I'm kind of going on a swerve here, but Becky, I saw that they had the Met Gala. Are you familiar with the Met Gala? It's like all the celebrities dress up in all of these like, kind of interesting outfits. And one of the celebrities was talking about how she starved herself to fit in no, she didn't starve herself. She said, I didn't starve myself. I just, didn't eat this and I didn't eat that and I didn't eat this and I exercised a bunch. So basically she restricted to get into this dress. And I think that's an example of how the diet culture puts so much pressure. And we're seeing little kids, like 6 and 7-year-olds, restricting, and they want to look like this, and they want to be, and they're not listening to their bodies. They're listening to that diet culture that says, okay, you need to restrict your carbs, don't eat sugar, exercise 3 hours today so you can fit in your prom dress or your, pageant dress or whatever. So that external we listen to so much, and not realizing how important it is for us to focus in on our own body wisdom. So that diagram is so strong. And it's strong for parents. Parents don't want, they don't want overweight kids. That's almost like, oh my gosh, I'm not perfect. I have an overweight kid. And it's like it's feeling, people feel bad. So if they have an overweight kid, I have parents that'll say they're overweight. And I say, don't panic. Maybe they're going to go through a growth spurt. Maybe they're eating for other reasons. You can't. And so that really, I see that a lot too. That really speaks to me.
And there's stages that girls go through.
Oh my gosh.
Where they eat more than boys ever thought of. My mom used to, there was one boy and 4 girls in my family. Oh. And my mom would just, you girls are just eating me out of the house. And my brother.
But think about that. You have menstruation. A girl will gain or weight will fluctuate like 5 pounds in a month just from cycling. Just there's so many factors, and our bodies have so much wisdom. It's just a passion that I really feel is so important to get parents to. And if parents feel that pressure, that diet culture pressure, then they give that same pressure to their kids.
They do.
And awareness and brain training is super important, and stopping with the rules and rigidity, which is all that brain training, right? My daughter's going to be fine. My daughter eats when she's hungry. She stops when she's full. My daughter, she's listening to her body, and if she needs more, she needs more. Today, she doesn't want vegetables, and that's okay. Things like that. And it's okay. Right. Right. And today she's not hungry, and that's okay. Oh my gosh, today she won't stop eating, and that's okay. That whole being aware of, she's born to be an intuitive eater.
The cycles too. Our bodies change from day to day, and stressors, there's so many factors that enter into it.
Oh yeah.
And just teaching our children to be aware. What is their body talking to them about?
Exactly.
What is their body saying that they need? They know,
Yes.
And I have one grandson of mine. There was a period of time, he was so funny. He loves vegetables, like cauliflower, broccoli, tomatoes. He just loves them. And there was a period of time where all of a sudden he didn't like it. And it was like, what's up, because that's the way he ate. But he did not like, like Los Kids ice cream or whatever. He just didn't like it. And as he's gotten older, and the peer pressure and all of that, I've noticed his diet habits changing. But he comes right back to, he'll just got to have his veggies, his raw veggies. He just loves them.
How old is he?
Right now he's 10. But I noticed the change. But even as a tiny little thing, he
really preferred those.
Yeah. It's really cool to see that.
Now, I sometimes think that's interesting too, because sometimes babies, when their moms have certain cravings when they're pregnant, they'll have certain things that they like, and I'll say, what an interesting thing. And then the mom will say, well, I ate a lot of that when I was pregnant, and I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it. And I'm always kind of struck by how, that does sometimes have a difference. It does make a difference.
I had a friend who when she was pregnant, she ate tons of pickles, and she just had craved pickles, and I don't know whether it was the salt in them or the little something, and her little one loved pickles too. It was so funny to watch.
I don't know why. I mean, I guess it just goes through the bloodstream.
Yeah. So that baby said, "Oh, pucker up." It's fine.
I'd like a pickle, please.
Well, so this book, what has it been like for you to be able to share it and the experience of participating in a book of this nature? And what do you hope that when somebody picks up this book, what they will gain from it?
First of all, Marion and Renee and Lee have been amazing on this, and
they have been.
I just feel like such a peon. They'll send me emails, and I'm kind of like, oh gosh, that's right, I'm supposed to do that. And they've just done such a great job. So I should apologize, not thank them. I should apologize for my lack of doing anything.
I'm supposed to do what?
Oh my gosh, they've been great. I feel very strongly that diet culture rules and rigidity really go hand in hand with the people thinking, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to be perfect. I've got to be a perfect parent. I can't, I can't let them do that. I can't let them do this. Instead of brain training around things, and instead of brain training, how can I teach my child to have a positive outlook? How can I teach my child um, to be positive and morally positive and in a culture that sometimes is negative? And the same thing with what they eat. How can I teach them to listen to their bodies? How can I teach them to respect their body wisdom? And how can I teach them that there's not bad and good, but all food's it? And I really hope that, because there's such an array of authors, I hope that somebody can come and pick this up and get a little taste of things that they can see. Oh my gosh, I kind of think I would like to learn more about this. And they can go deep into that author. Like they can say, oh, this is great. I love this story about her car breaking down. I'd like to learn more about how that came about. Or, oh, I relate to that child eating situation. I like to go deeper on that. So I really feel like this is kind of like, it's kind of like a little appetizer, kind of like appetizers, because, we're talking about food. And it's kind of like getting a little taste of everybody's different brain training, and how brain training has, with each of their niche, has been has been a huge influence in each of their niche. And parents being able to say, oh, I think I'll look
I can
deeper.
do this. This is fascinating. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to taste. I know I want I want the entree. I don't know.
It's really cool. What I have appreciated about this book is how diverse it is.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Because it covers just kind of this full spectrum of different angles of looking at, the things that make you become a calm parent,
Yeah.
and parenting has a lot of stresses, and, a lot of things that where many of us are working while we're still raising our kids, and we've got all the responsibilities of things constantly on our shoulders. And this book just really picks up where in just about every aspect of life, and a fresh new way of looking at life, and things that we can do to help ourselves, help our children.
Yeah. And we want meal times to be calm, right?
We do. Yeah.
That's like a beautiful time for a family to have a peaceful, calm, eyeball to eyeball time with their kids. And
Not on the devices either.
yeah, I mean, we want
Yeah.
that calmness, right? Yeah.
Right.
And we want a child to have confidence in their body's wisdom.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Beautiful. What a beautiful interview. And
Thank
thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thank you for your effort in this too. This has been great.
Thank you. Thank you. I've truly enjoyed it. It's just a remarkable book, and I totally believe in it. For those that are listening, if you haven't yet, please be sure and pick up a copy of this amazing book. It's on Amazon. You can type in Calm Parents, Confident Kids, or follow the link that's in this stream. Truly, thank you for the privilege of being able to meet you and really have this beautiful conversation. And so we will end our interview today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.